Should be back.
Or are we?
We double check. Yeah, we're back. Excellent. Okay, so technical difficulty aside, where was I before I lost my train of thought due to a blue screen?
No idea.
Ah, yes, Activision Blizzard and the whole shit and caboodle. So yeah, no, the furthermore on the Activision Blizzard side of things. So yeah, they had the diversity tool. It was obviously just honestly, I wonder if they released it just to stroke outrage and focus attention on that instead of their numerous lawsuits and investigations about their mass-scale sexual misconduct, which The Verge has so nicely put in a condensed article that covers most of it. For anyone who wants to hear our opinions on past reportings on it, we have covered the Cosby Suite and stuff like that regarding the hotel suite that they called the Cosby Suite, where they were bringing girls to have their way with them and all that, and also the employee that committed suicide and her parents were watch them facing suing. Not exactly great. So here, in this context specifically, Activision Blizzard has investigated Activision Blizzard and had found that Activision Blizzard had done nothing wrong, and this was reported by Activision Blizzard. So yes, Activision Blizzard investigated themselves and reported to the SEC, who have been investigating them for quite some time. Said, nope, nothing wrong here, nothing wrong at the company. Everyone has been in the know, and it's all been taken care of. To actually read it, amid all the news on Overwatch 2 and Diablo Immortal, Activision Blizzard has filed a document with the U.S. Security and Exchange Commission in which it affirms that after an internal investigation, it concludes that its own board did not fail to act when presented with allegations of harassment. Contrary to many of the allegations, the board and its external advisors, have determined that there is no evidence to suggest that Activision Blizzard senior executives ever intentionally ignored or attempted to downplay the instances of gender harassment that occurred or were reported, Activision Blizzard wrote in the filing. The report does acknowledge that there were problems within the company, and that such a conclusion does little to address the concerns of those harmed. Indeed, a single instance of someone feeling diminished at Activision Blizzard is one too many, it wrote. However, in a report from one of the consultants Activision Blizzard engaged to review harassment filings and the company's responses, the document said, based on the volume of reports, the amount of misconduct reflected is comparatively low for a company the size of Activision Blizzard. So because the company's so big, the amount is not that much, so it's okay. It's kind of strange to say in one breath, one is too many, and then cite a consultant saying that it could have been worse. The filing continues with the programs the company has implemented to make restitution. It cites the addition of new diversity and inclusion executive, a program designed to train and attract employees from underrepresented areas, and its $18 million compensation fund established by its settlement with the EEOC, but the United States Equal Employment Opportunity Commission. For reference, Activision Blizzard reported Call of Duty alone made the company $3 billion in 2020. So $18 million is chump change. Hell, the CEO of Activision Blizzard, Bobby Kotick, when he is fired from Activision Blizzard by Microsoft when the merger goes through, if the merger goes through, he will be getting a $15 million parachute. Yeah. Continue, but in another example, you could just not say that. The company took a swipe at the California Department Fair Employment and Housing, which tried to block the EEOC settlement since it might release the company from the state's own case against it and the media. Here in quotes, the statement continues saying, it must be said that the company has been subject to an unrelenting barrage of media criticism that attempts to paint the entire company and many innocent employees with the stain of a very small portion of our employee population who engaged in bad behavior and were disciplined for it. The company wrote, much of this originated with the highly inflammatory made-for-press allegations of the Department of Fair Employment and Housing. Yaha. Sure. This reminds me of when the announcements of when the court filing first came out and how they tried to dismiss it. Like, no, they were distorted facts and this was all false. And then they start saying, no, some of it was true. And then they said, like, no, some of it was true, but that only happened years ago. This is old.
Yeah,
which would acknowledge that it did happen.
Last week, this is all spilled milk on it.
Also, here's the thing too: is this isn't exactly like, oh, this was only happening now. This has been a problem at Activision Blizzard for the last 20 or so years. And the specific in detail that the the court filing that we read back in 2021 went into, like, women were not allowed to get promotions due to their possibility of becoming pregnant, or obviously the suicide employee who had a relationship with one of the other employees, then that resulted in nude pictures of her being passed around, and her boss bringing lube and a butt plug to a party, and her killing herself, obviously being that final straw. So yeah, article continues saying, I guess then when there's a new allegation cropping up almost every day with stories of stolen breast milk, alcohol-fueled cube crawls. For those who don't know, the cube crawls they speak of are when male employees at Activision Blizzard would commonly get drunk, crawl on all fours from cubicle to cubicle, and inappropriately groping women at their workstations. The now infamous Cosby Suite, which we covered in a previous episode, the fact that the CEO likely knew all about it. Oh, he did. According to a Wall Street Journal report, multiple reports, not only did Bobby Kotick know about it, he knew about it and did not tell the investors, which is literally failing at his one job.
Well,
and he attempted to have his assistant killed.
Yep.
The board's patent refusal to disavow said CEO, which again, the fact that he's still CEO, they haven't fired the fucker.
Or even put him on administrative leave, nothing.
Others they at least got rid of, right? Like the guys responsible for the Cosby Suite, they're gone. I think 2 of them are still at the company, but for the most part, the big names are gone. Either they left before legal action could be taken, at least, or company action could be taken on them, or the others were just fired. But even so, nothing's actually happening of all this. You know what I mean? Yeah, it's great that we're all knowing about it and something can be done, but it's not enough. These people broke many laws. They broke the equal pay law. They broke the, obviously every humane law. There are so many laws that they broke, both, employee-related wise. You're not supposed to do this with your employee. Your employee, you have to pay them equally and all that stuff. As well as, rape, sexual harassment, aggravated assault, that sort of stuff. Stuff you'd more likely to hear in a newspaper about some gangbanger, not CEOs. Although, honestly, what's the difference? The board's patent refusal to disavow said CEO, despite employee objections. 3 employees walk out, a strike, and let's not forget the persistent instances of union busting, for which there are at least 2 National Labor Relations Board complaints. It can get pretty unrelenting. It's also worth noting that while the Department of Fair Employment and Housing filing did make the public aware about the cube crawls and the Cosby Suite, among other things, a lot of the other allegations brought forward were from independent reportings and Activision Blizzard's own current and former employees. Yeah. So there it is. I mean, again, we've covered most of this stuff in the past, but the fact that it's still going in this new announcement where it's like, no, we did an investigation of ourselves, guys, and we're okay. And the report contradicts itself too, which is really great. Yeah, and obviously the GamesIndustry.biz report on it, as well as The Verge and Eurogamer and Kotaku. Industry.biz report saying the reports did not address the Wall Street Journal's reporting that Activision Blizzard CEO Bobby Kotick overruled an HR department determination that a co-head of Treyarch be fired over an allegation of sexual harassment. The review of contemporaneous I don't know, I'm mispronouncing words today, I'm sorry. Documentation and statements by relevant individuals shows that media criticism of the board of Activision and Activision Blizzard senior executives as insensitive to workplace matters is without merit. Oh, really? It acknowledged that there were some substantiated instances of gender harassment, but said they were not evidence of systemic problems. It also pointed to external advisors that it said it agreed with the board of directors' findings. Of course. See, this is why I like showing the sources, because I can just say, oh, my sources said this, and not show it, right? Unknown, what was it? And then, unaffiliated sources, whatever the fuck, why am I blanking on the term? English is not my day today. Not my language today. Anyway, as the company talks about, over the years, the company has appropriately disciplined and exited employees to ensure that our practices match our policies. There's, the zero tolerance rule that has absolutely no meaning, because they clearly tolerate everything under the sun for all these employees and all these instances that have happened for so long. There simply is no room in Activision Blizzard for anyone who does not practice our corporate value of providing a safe, inclusive, and welcoming workplace that serves as a model for our industry. Oh, that's good. Cam, don't you ever think that Activision Blizzard is the leading model of workplace culture in the gaming industry? Did you ever give a shit about that anyways?
They're obviously our moral superiors in every way in which we take all directions from.
You can't say that with a straight face, can you? The report did not address a report that Kotick himself once threatened to have an assistant killed, something the company called an obviously hyperbolic and inappropriate voicemail that Kotick had apologized for. That Kotick had already apologized for, nor did it address an arbitration settlement Kotick reached when a flight attendant on a private jet he co-owned alleged he fired her for complaining about sexual harassment. Wow. So this doesn't even... With Kotick, it doesn't even just remain within the company. Activision Blizzard also once again took issue with the California Department of Fair Employment and Housing, referring to the agency's ongoing lawsuit against it as highly inflammatory made-for-press allegations. The publisher's original response to the DFEH lawsuit was similarly strident, calling it distorted, meritless, and irresponsible, or inaccurate and rushed. Over 1,000 Activision Blizzard employees signed a letter condemning the response, calling it abhorrent and insulting to all that we believe our company should stand for. The publisher quickly changed its tune.
Sexual assault and
the publisher quickly changed its tune, with Kotick calling the first response tone deaf and apologizing that we did not provide the right empathy and understanding. No, you guys definitely did what you accomplished what you were aiming for, and that was to underhandedly, just deny. Beyond the results of the internal review, Activision Blizzard listed reforms it has made, like quadrupling the size of its ethics and compliance teams since the DFEH suit was filed, which this July will be a full year now. instituting a zero-tolerance harassment policy. Ah, yes, that zero-tolerance harassment policy. How well has that gone so far? Waiving mandatory arbitration for individual sexual harassment and discrimination claims for incidents occurring after October 28th of 2021. And making, this is in quotes, making progress in ensuring there are diverse slates of candidates for all open positions, even though the company fought a shareholder proposal on that issue last year. Yeah, I love how everything that's come out of this recent investigation on Activision Blizzard's part contradicts itself within the own, not just in general, because everything they're saying is bullshit in the response and in the report, but the report itself consists of inconsistencies and contradictions. Like, oh no, it was only a few minor instances, but it could have been worse. You know, apparently it's not that bad for a company of our side to have this many. This is sad. Because looking at it practically, you have many perpetrators who have broken, violated, and just downright used their powers to evade the law. Many instances. And you have victims who have died or are emotionally or possibly even physically, that at least I haven't heard of, but it's possible given how sexual harassment can lead to some other things that can lead to violence. You have victims of various types, all reporting against this, like all reporting against the company for essentially screwing them over in one way or another. Yet, what's being done about it? What's happening with the people that are responsible? Bobby Kotick, or Watchface, the Cosby Suite guy. I think he actually did get fired, and he's under investigation for something. I don't remember. Who was the Blizzard president? I don't remember his name. It was something with a B. Like, none of these guys are actually facing the consequences for their actions. Because, the rich and powerful don't have to face the consequences of their actions. It's only us peasants that have. Yep, that's yeah, they've cleared themselves of any wrongdoing. Yep, Kotick tried to assist killed and all that. Like, again, this is all. I'll put all these. No, I'll put all of these articles in the comment section in a pinned comment so that everyone can see all the sources and read through it all for themselves, at their own pace, not by some guy who can barely speak English. And at least Kotaku, I think, is actually getting into the whole here, the whole thing with Raven QA, right? Because the QA software and the QA developers of Raven software, they're trying to get a union going because, according to a recent report, as reported by GamesIndustry.biz, I think somewhere near 79% of the industry's developers want to unionize because, well, underpaid, or they just get screwed. It's like, you name it, odds are everything under the sun happens to these people and they get screwed over in one way, shape, or form. I'm trying to find the report. Here it is. Yeah, so 79% of the games industry workers support unionization. And unionization in the games industry has been a big thing, a big talking point for a while, for a few years. Multiple, like almost a decade or even longer, maybe. People want unions because, again, Activision Blizzard is a prime example here. In 2019, at the end of the year, they had a record revenue year, like one of their best years ever. One of the Black Ops games, I think, came out that year. Like, it was a big year for them. They made a shit ton of money. And then they proceed to fire 775 employees. That's 8% of their employees. Just so that Bobby Kotick and the other executives can get a bigger bonus. Because what they'll do is, a lot of the time, they'll hire a lot of these devs as either contract workers or whatever it is, and not full-time employees. Or even if they do full-time employees, again, they do their work. Once they're done, they'll fire them, as opposed to keep them on for some other project. Instead, fire them, so this way they don't have to pay them for their work or for any royalty work that they've done on a game, right? Like, oh, this game sold. Okay, they get that cut, or a cut of it, right? Or if they're an employee, they get a salary. No, we're just going to let you go so that we can get more money ourselves. Goodbye. The majority of workers in the games industry would join a union after facing poor workplace conditions, such as the toxic, and that is a time you can actually use the word toxic, and it would be 117% true. Activision Blizzard's workplace culture would be toxic. According to a new report from the UNI Global Union. The firm surveyed industry employees across 29 countries and found that 66% experienced low pay, 43% faced inadequate benefits and excessive work hours, while 35% dealt with workplace discrimination or harassment. I'm betting about 20% of that was Activision Blizzard and Microsoft alone.
Details.
It also that's just a joke, sort of. It also reports that 79% of respondents expressed support for unionizing their places of work. 15% were neither for or against, were kind of just like so, they don't care. And 6% voted against. 6%. So, yeah. Low pay was particularly prevalent in Europe, with 77% of workers in the region citing it as an issue. Gender discrimination was also a stark statistic. Jeez, I know only 3 languages. Hebrew, English, and bad English. Today I'm going with bad English.
What about bullshit?
Bullshit too. Bullshit today? No. Did you try to...
Maybe.
With 46% of women and 43% of non-binary respondents mentioning gender-related problems. This groundbreaking report reveals global trends of recurrent employee dissatisfaction that make working in the digital entertainment industry unfair, unequal, and unsustainable for many workers, said UNI Global Union General Secretary Christy Hoffman. Video game workers are coming to Berlin to deliver a strong message to the titans of the sector. It's time to fight for our rights. We are going union. The report is hot off the heels of Activision Blizzard subsidiary Raven Software forming the first major U.S. video game union, which is to be recognized by Microsoft following the company's acquisition of the pair. Staff at outsourcing firm Keyword Studios also recently voted in favor of a union, following earlier accusations of crunch and not allowing staff to work remotely during the COVID-19 pandemic. Australia also saw its first game industry union come together this year. Game Workers Unite is set to rebrand as part of a mission to improve working conditions for the video game professionals in the country. Yeah, that's a problem that we probably didn't mention earlier on in this episode specifically, in which I apologize, but what's happening at Activision Blizzard, and I do mean what's happening, not what happened, because all that harassment shit, it's still going on now. Most of the reports that are coming in now are probably from, they mentioned in many of the articles mentioned, it's from current and former employees. And also, for anyone listening to this, keep all these statistics and the whole unionization thing in mind later, because it's going to be relevant to another topic. I'll get my notes up, but yeah, the whole Activision Blizzard thing, it's obviously not good, and it's not even the only company that's had stories, because, as you know, Activision Blizzard is going to be purchased by Microsoft in June 2023, assuming the deal goes through. And hopefully that means that Bobby Kotick gets fired, although it means he gets fired with a $15 million parachute. But at least he'll be gone, although I hope that means that the second he's gone, that fucking legal action's taken against him, because holy shit. So yeah, there's that. We also have a story from just about whatchamface, Microsoft themselves. So Microsoft themselves have been having some sexual harassment issues as well. So for any of you who are like, oh, when Microsoft buys them, they'll handle all of it, right? Wrong. Microsoft Core Porn exec reviewed VR smut in front of staff report. This is in the New York Post. A top Microsoft executive watched VR porn in front of his subordinates in the office, according to a report. Executive, virtual reality chief Alex Kipman, allegedly watched, who is on the thumbnail, by the way, allegedly watched a sexy pillow fight involving young women in skimpy clothing in front of a half-dozen staffers. A screen in the room reportedly displayed the frisky video while Kipman was watching it in the virtual reality headset. The staffers were baffled and two walked out of the room. The outlet reported one employee who was at the meeting told Insider that Kipman watching VR porn made people incredibly uncomfortable. Gee, really? It was in the office in front of women. Don't say. Insider reported that the incident took place several years after Microsoft CEO Satya Nadella pledged in 2014 to clean up Microsoft's culture and crack down on talented jerks. That's in quotations. Nadella's pledge took on new urgency after reports emerged last year alleging decades of pervy workplace behavior by Microsoft co-founder Bill Gates. Gates was accused of lying on top of women at a company event in 1988, sending inappropriate emails to a female Microsoft employee in 2007, and having an affair with another female Microsoft employee. His wife, Melinda, announced they were splitting last year. They were splitting last year and accused Bill of cheating. No shit. Nadella insisted at the time that Microsoft of 2021 is very different from Microsoft of 2000, but insiders report alleges Nadella has overlooked pervy behavior by executives, including Kipman. When employees last year compiled a report with dozens of allegations, misconduct allegations against Kipman, the company took disciplinary action against him, according to the report. Sources said people like Kipman are considered golden boys who have been protected by executives, including Gates and former CEO Steve Ballmer. When they are golden, nothing can be done against them, an ex-Microsoft executive said. A person believes they are untouchable and can do whatever they want. You might as well swallow the abuse. Poor choice of words. Microsoft told Insider it was unaware of any reports about Kipman watching frisky VR. So yeah,
I'm sure they are. Yeah.
That's your golden whatever that's gonna save Activision Blizzard. Honestly, I think it's fast saving, but then again, I never had any emotional connection to the company because I never really played any of their games. Aside from like the odd Call of Duty here and there and X-Men Origins Wolverine. And they didn't even, well, at least in regards to the Wolverine one, they didn't even make it. They just published it. That was Raven Software. So. Fun stuff. By the way, Data, you joined at a lovely time.
Not on that.
Yeah, so I'm hearing.
So, see ya.
So Microsoft, Activision Blizzard, Ubisoft, you name it, every company under the sun is doing the sexual harassment. Sony's catching up because, they started Americanizing the company last year, so they gotta catch up, everywhere they're falling behind.
Huh.
They've had 8, I wrote it down here. A female employee last year sued. Not last year, sorry, earlier this year, in April and May, a female Sony employee was trying to sue them for misconduct and discrimination because she was fired for being a woman. She then... Sorry about that. The court then dismissed the case because she didn't have enough evidence after Sony themselves were trying to get the case dismissed. But she came back with more evidence and more people apparently, so far, the number is 8 different women who have been sexually discriminated against at Sony. I'm sure that will increase as the days go by. Apparently, also the Activision lawsuit from the parents of the suicide victim, they dropped the lawsuit. I wonder how, what the deal was there. Was it they were bought or what? According to this, the parents of the former Activision Blizzard employee have asked a California court to dismiss their case filed against the publisher over the death of their daughter. As reported by Axios, the request made May 6th asked the entire action to be dismissed with prejudice so that it can't be refiled at a later date. The family sued Activision Blizzard back in March after it reported that the employee took her own life during the company retreat, which did. That did happen. The filing alleged that the employee experienced sexual harassment at work, which was a significant factor leading to her death. It also accuses the victim's former boss of concealing a sexual relationship he had engaged in with her from police investigating her death, as well as covering up evidence of it. The lawsuit filed by the California Department of Fair Employment and Housing also referenced harassment leading to the death of an employee, but the victim was not identified in the suit filed last July. Activision Blizzard is still battling the lawsuit yet. So, I wonder if it was they were bought, like they just give them enough money, and I guess they can put a price tag on their dead daughter. Or maybe they just don't want the publicity. But
yeah, I mean, we really don't have enough information to really say either way. It's just
no, we don't. But I will say it is unfortunate that they dropped the case just for the sake of there was a lot of evidence going for them, that was helping them.
I mean, we say that, but since we don't have the real story, then maybe there was
no,
a bunch
but
of stuff
I've
that
read
would report
that's
on
true,
their daughter, like choices, because
that's true.
And then they just didn't want it to get aired.
Honestly, I'm leaning towards the theory of they just don't want the publicity type thing. But I mean, their daughter did commit suicide at a holiday party. I believe at the same party or the one listed the year before, or in the original July court filing. Remember, the boss brought a butt plug and lube with him, and the year prior, I think, was when they were handing out pictures of her.
Yep, I remember it.
And in the original court filing for the parents that filed in May. Sorry, I just read it. It listed how one of the execs that had a relationship with her, and they were deleting all traces of the relationship off of her phone, his phone, company stuff, her email. Like, it's one thing, like, okay, the employee's no longer with us, delete the company email and that sort of stuff, but this was going through her personal stuff and deleting stuff so that there was no evidence of a relationship. And he was hiding evidence from the cops, according to the court filing. So, and also, Activision Blizzard has been caught shredding evidence before. I think it was in November. They were caught shredding evidence relating to their financials as well as employee stuff regarding the sexual harassment misconduct. Furthermore, Activision Blizzard shareholders for New York's proposed annual abuse report for New York's proposed annual report. So apparently, Activision Blizzard last week, their shareholders voted in favor of New York's proposed annual abuse report, in which it would share how it handles abuse, harassment, and discrimination within the company. As reported by the Washington Post, a proposal by New York State Comptroller Thomas DiNapoli was brought forth in February this year. The report would expect to disclose the total number of disputes settled by the company and the amount of money spent. progress towards reducing the average amount of time taken to resolve such complaints, either internally or through litigation. Total number of pending complaints regarding sexual abuse, harassment, or discrimination, and the amount of hours worked and pay issued as required by the California Department of Fair Employment and Housing. So in other words, do your fucking job. On this, and literally like a few days later, a report came out that Activision shareholders vote to re-elect board, including Bobby Kotick. So a majority voted for executive compensation package, while 95% were against the nomination of employee representative. Majority of Activision Blizzard shareholders have voted in favor of re-electing the firm's 10 directors to the board, including Bobby Kotick, who is the CEO. The annual stockholder meeting took place on Tuesday and saw shareholders vote for or against several issues at the company. Around 91% of shareholders voted to extend the current board's term to the end of the next annual meeting in 2023. Approximately 88% voted in favor of the company's executive compensation package, which included a base salary and short and long-term financial incentives for C-level. Shareholders were massively against appointing an employee representative firm, with 95% voting against the proposition. Notably, 67% voted in favor of a report that details how Activision Blizzard is responding to the allegation, which was a jerk thing. Yeah, it's a lot of stuff is happening, but nothing's being done about it, if that makes sense. Like, yes, there's the Fair Employment Housing investigation. The SEC is still investigating them, despite the claims that Activision Blizzard has done no wrongdoings, according to their own investigation. Did you hear about that? Or Activision has investigated Activision and has deemed Activision has done nothing wrong. This was a report by Activision. Not looking good if you're an employee of Activision. Sorry to say. And also, before I talk about this next article, this next story, I need to make note for anyone watching. Though this article does mention and is a response to the ongoing turmoil regarding the U.S. Supreme Court's overturning of the 1973 Roe versus Wade ruling, this is not about that. This is about the corporations listed in the article and how they are failing to do their job, in which entails creating and selling quality escapism for customers. Instead, they are, whilst also providing a safe workplace for their employees, but instead they're virtue signaling because they never heard the phrase, "Don't throw stones and live in glass houses." Old Japanese proverb. Not really. Yeah, apparently, literally, with the exception of, I think, the Innersloth guys who make Among Us, every company listed here has, at one time or another, or currently, has been under investigation, has reported sexual harassment, or is currently being investigated for mass-scale sexual harassment. Well, first up, we got Bungie, which has had misconduct issues in the past. Their claim regarding this is, their statement regarding the whole abortion thing is copy and paste to everyone else's. I'm not going to read them all. I'll put this article comments later because, like, again, I don't want to get into the whole politics stuff. I want to talk about why these companies are virtue signaling and just the irony of it. Yeah, they're like, here, I will read this part. Bungie is committed to ensuring that every one of our employees and their families have safe and affordable access to essential healthcare needs, blah, 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 as we continue to expand our digital-first workplace to more states. We will now be implementing a travel reimbursement program for any employee who use when they or a dependent cannot get access. That's not the right. Okay, it may have not been the Bungie quote that had one of the statements here was mentioning something about how they need to have a safe workplace and all that stuff. And it was funny because it was coming from one of the companies we've talked about in the past who are, or at least have in the past done sexual misconduct with their. Just have to.
It's just basically just their typical PR speak, is what you're saying.
Oh, all of this is like literally copy and paste. Like each one is just either longer or shorter versions of the same exact message from every single corporation. Even Innersloth, who, for all I know, as far as I'm aware, is the only company on this list that has not had any misconduct, whatever, relating to them, and that we know of. Although I will note the irony in having a statement that says, the whole Bungie talking about how the U.S. Supreme Court ruling further restricts, puts further restrictions on life-saving healthcare, when, I mean, it's still, like, if you need to have if you need to have an abortion because the baby's threatening the life of the mother, that's not going to be legal. That's still a thing. So, I don't know where the life-saving part is coming from. Let's see, Innersloth, reproductive choice and liberty, blah, 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 ending constitutional right to abortion. Gender, racial, economic, and human rights disaster for both present and future generations. There are so many people in local organizations support, blah, blah, blah. Insomniac Games, which, knows, they made the recent Spider-Man games, they made the Ratchet and Clank games, Sunset Overdrive. Was it 2 years ago? They were also under the misconduct radar for doing a lot of employee abuse. But they're here saying, we are human beings who make games. Reproductive freedom and bodily autonomy are human rights. That's it. That's their statement.
I mean, one could argue that abortion is the worst kind of disaster for future generations.
That what?
I said one could argue that abortion is the worst kind of disaster for potential future generations.
I mean, it is, if you're looking at it that way, yeah. I mean, I agree. It's fun. I just love hearing it. We believe that bodily autonomy and reproductive freedom are fundamental human rights. This is Santa Monica Studio will continue to uphold these values and support our team members in receiving access to the care they need. This is from Sony's Santa Monica Studio, who have at least 8 different sexual misconduct incidents that we're aware of.
It's just a whole bunch of bullshit.
It is a bunch of bullshit.
They say what you do with your body is a right, and yet, no, you have to take a vaccine.
The reason why I wanted to bring this article up at all is because every company here, we got Sony, we've got, Activision Blizzard's even at the end of the list, Microsoft, Naughty Dog, Sony San Diego, Insomniac, Bungie, all these companies are saying, no, this is a bodily function and right, or reproduction, health, whatever, this is bad that we're getting rid of this thing. We have the right to our own bodies, our own choice, and all that stuff. Yet, when you're not looking, they're abusing their own employees, particularly the female employees. So, yeah, all this is just bullshit. That's why I opened this article with, those that live in glass houses should not throw stones. They're claiming to be these paragons of virtue by claiming, virtue signaling to what is the arguably louder rhetoric in regards to this divisive conflict with the abortion stuff. Because they want the virtue points, the check boxes, whatever. They want the relevancy to pretend that they're seemingly doing good. And also, I guess it's just PR bullshit. Yeah, You know, it's funny because they're telling you, like, oh, go help these organizations, you know, fight the whatever, you know, because we need bodily autonomy and human rights and all that. Yet, before you tell other people what to do in their house, perhaps you should clean up your own first. Like Microsoft made a really long-winded one here. Microsoft will continue to do everything we can under the law to support our employees and their enrolled dependents in accessing critical health care, which already includes services like abortion and gender-affirming care. Regardless of where they live across the U.S., this support has been extended to include travel expense assistance for the it's pretty much, it's either just, you know, this X is X, right? Like, you know, bodily autonomy, whatever, is human rights, and we all deserve it, and you have to fight for it. Or it's that plus we'll cover travel expenses so that you can go to a state that will allow it. Personally, I will say this: everyone's up in arms about it, but you know, the states that are going to allow it are going to allow you to abort the kid when they're 12 years old. So I don't see what the problem is. By the way, Data, have you ever get into the Orville yet or no?
No, I have not.
Because actually, I watched the most recent episode of season 3, and they actually kind of make a jab at the abortion stuff in it. It's kind of funny.
I did watch the latest season of The Boys, though, and it's funny because I feel like they had some snarky humor towards the whole woke ideology too.
Funny because I watched season 2 and I was not a fan, but I've been hearing good things about season 3, so I'll have to give it a watch.
I mean, I can't say that it's a good show because it's got some. It's really over the top in every way.
Yeah,
over the top in every way. So it's not meant to be a wholesome show, but
no. I mean, the guy that created the comic book is a fucking nut job, pardon my French. But, like, we're talking about baby eating and some other weird
it's about
shit.
As screwed up as you can get.
Yeah.
But that's
everything
what
under the
trying
sun.
To be.
I heard that, was it Jensen Ackles, isn't it?
I have no idea who that is.
He does the voice of Red Hood in a lot of... I think he plays Soldier Boy.
Oh, okay. I mean, I still don't know the name, but there is a person that plays Soldier Boy, so...
Well, publisher Devolver Digital says reproductive rights are human rights. Isn't that the same thing Insomniac said?
They all say the same thing.
Yeah, no, it's similar. Yeah, but that's the point. It's all just copy and paste PR bullshit from all these companies. I just love the gall, the chutzpah of Activision Blizzard having one too. Like, oh, everyone else is making one. Why don't we do one? But then again, this is
the real funny thing is seeing how all these companies get led around by the nose.
Yeah, it's funny because again, all these companies are, you know, just left and right for years.
They're afraid to stand up and say, this is stupidity and we're not going to follow it. They're scared. They're a bunch of cowards.
Exactly. Now, the problem too is, like, again, they're supposed to be making escapism and selling it. This, you know, they're nothing about what they do and what industry they work in says they should be saying or getting involved in any form of politics relating to anything related to politics. Period.
Yeah.
And you can do commentary and stuff, right? Like have allegories in a game story or something like that. But making public statements on behalf of the company and all of it, the people, whatever it comprises and all that, that's not what your job is. Your job is to make content and then sell that content to customers who will then buy said content and repeat process. Lately, you've been kind of fucking up on that aspect of the job too. I mean, they're supposed to be doing it in a way where you have quality escapism that people can buy while providing a safe workplace for their employees. They have not been doing either.
Well, we'll have to see how companies who are virtual signaling like mad fare in the next 5 to 10 years.
Yeah. I mean, look what happened to Disney, in the last year. Disney's been virtue signaling up the wazoo for the last 8 years, getting, doubling down harder and harder every time. And look where it got them now. They lost their Ready Creek
There's that
district.
saying that everything woke turns to shit, and the reason that it turns to shit is because the companies are so focused and spend so much time and energy talking and creating content that is woke to fit or to appease a small portion of the population, and they spend very little time actually making decent content that mass people want to watch.
The worst part, it's that they're spending so much time making escapism by committee, essentially, right? Like, this is literal dystopian soulless corporation by numbers and statistics products versus art, which is what video games and movies and TV and comics are supposed to be, an art form. But
the other side of that is that they hire people that are all about being woke.
Yep.
And
in some cases, it's the company itself and not the employees.
The best talent, in my opinion.
No, it's a mixture of both of them.
Because of their political opinion instead of the job or the creativity they bring. To
Marvel for the last 5 or so years has been hiring based on politics, not whether you're actually capable of writing or drawing, and it shows. I mean, you saw the Black Thor, right? Miles Morales is now Thor, or an alternate version of Thor. Because...
No, I haven't kept up with anything.
So, recently they did this thing where it's what if Miles Morales became Thor? And it's not like, it's just Miles Morales as Thor. It's, no, Asgard is now the hood, like the ghetto. And you got, Mjolnir has graffiti all over it. And it's just... It's as stereotypical and somewhat and not even somewhat just racist as you can get with, like, depicting a black neighborhood. Just bad. But that's what they see representation and stuff as. Like, it's bigots telling you that you're the bigots for not liking their bigotry. And that's pretty much the MO for Disney and Warner Brothers and a lot in Activision Blizzard and EA and every other corporation that's pushed out these politically correct, narrow-minded ideology bullshit in the form of their products. Right? Anytime you don't like a new Terminator or Star Wars movie or whatever, it's no, you're racist because you didn't like this black character, or you're sexist, you didn't like this female character. You're just a straight heterosexual white male. You're the bad guy. Feel bad.
Any company that puts out a crappy product and then gets mad at the people they're trying to sell it to because they don't like it, just tells
are sore losers.
Yeah. They're children in suits.
Indeed. You got this. I'm just laughing at this article because this came out literally Friday, which is when they overturned it, right? Or was that Thursday? Thursday was when they did that. When they overturned the gun law. But it's just insane. Copy and paste PR statement and hope for. Oh, EA also had one too. EA reportedly told staff last month it would not make a statement regarding abortion rights and that it would only speak out on an issue when there's a consistent perspective among its employees. Taking a side would actually have a positive impact. So, where taking a side have a positive impact. So, good on EA for being the better of all of these companies. Somehow. Meanwhile, Battlefield 2042 is still a shit show with a skeleton crew running it. But
yeah, it's sad to see a good franchise die, but
yeah,
I mean,
now
if they continue to make games in a franchise, that I think that is just ultimately the way it goes.
Unfortunately, I mean, I hate saying it this way, and I don't mean it to be like, oh, now you know how it feels. Like, no, it's just unfortunately, Battlefield fans now know how Halo fans have felt for the last 10 years. Like, the games are just not Battlefield anymore.
No, it really isn't.
Hell, even EA was trying to do the whole political correctness with their World War II one, right? Battlefield 5. Don't you remember that historic mission of a amputee female royal commando taking on a hard water plant? Don't remember that?
Oh, wow, I totally remember it.
It totally wasn't actually done by like 20 guys from. They weren't even British, if I remember correctly. But yeah, it totally wasn't just 20 guys, and none of them survived. Meanwhile, like a few weeks ago, we covered Nintendo also doing mistreatment of their employees. They're not listed here, but you had Nintendo, you had obviously Activision Blizzard, Microsoft, Insomniac, Sony, Ubisoft, Riot Games, who ended up having to pay $100 million in settlement fees regarding the sexual misconduct. Meanwhile, Activision Blizzard got away with doing just $18 million for C, which is nothing. Call of Duty in 2020, I mean, paid what? $3 million? $3 billion? Yep, that's the world we live in. Where the rich and powerful can do whatever the hell they want because they're the rich and powerful.
And I would argue that's always been the world we live in. It's just the older we get, the more we see
Oh,
it.
yeah. It's just, the more time moves on, the more it happens. And the more increasingly
I don't
absurd.
think it's even the more it happens. It's just when you're younger, you're not as aware of it because your focus is on other things.
Fair. But I meant that there's more billionaires. So that's happening more. Although there's soon going to be less, depending on economy percent. So then again, maybe. Yeah.
Well, on that note, I think I'm
I think we're gonna call it. It was a relatively short one, but I did blue screen earlier. So it's technically split into two.
Oh, that sucks.
Yeah, Windows. Gotta hate it. I forgot Bethesda was also mistreating their workers and Cyberpunk 27, not Cyberpunk, Fallout 76. And Cyberpunk 2077 also, with all the crunch time the employees had to go. Yep. Fun stuff. Not really. Any Star Citizen news before we end it, or we covered the Inside Star Citizen?
I mean, not really. XGR had their round 2 race that I did not perform very well in. I think I'm down to 7th now. But it was a 0G race, and I'm not great in 0G, so hoping to move back up the standings in the next race, which will be Atmo around New Babbage.
Oh yeah. When's the race?
The coming race is at the end of next month.
Why?
Yeah, so they're basically 4 weeks apart.
That's good. So this way you have 12 months to train for each race.
Yeah, you have a lot of time to practice. Yeah.
Who's in the lead right now?
Diplomat, actually. He did not get overtaken. He probably will next race, but again, he was very consistent with mid-pack finishes. He didn't get first place at all, but he always at least finished the race. So I think he's leading by 2 points. And the Vale Gromby is behind that, and I think Splin moved up into third.
Well, hopefully you'll do well in the next. Otherwise, you're dead to me. No.
Yeah.
Unfriend. Kick from org. You know. Well, hopefully PTU Alpha 317 goes.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to some changes that they've made. I don't know what they are yet, but it was hinted to me that racing people are going to be really excited about
Yeah, some of the ships are going to get a bit of a rework, how they handle. Also, the derelicts for the reclaimers are like older model reclaimers. That was pretty cool. Models that they couldn't use flying.
Huh.
I don't know if it was just. I just like the idea of, hey, for Rex, why not just use old assets? Give them a second life.
I mean, if you're basically tearing them apart, so you might as well.
They don't need function. They're gonna be empty husks. So.
And since they're, I'm assuming they're going to be ripped up and destroyed and stuff.
Yeah,
they're derelicts.
Yeah,
so
like the
they
derelict.
don't even have to really carry the same body as the
reclaimer ones are going to be ones that are like been there for a while, so there's going to be foliage around it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's rich. New head of EA DICE discusses the studio's transformation to live service. We want to be proud of Battlefield. No, I don't think. Well, aside from the, welcome to the hellscape of the worlds, if you haven't noticed already, because you're right, this has been the world. We've always been living in this world. We're just now becoming more aware of what goes on. Because, the stuff at Activision Blizzard and Microsoft and all this stuff is all 20, 30, 40 years of sexual misconduct and shit going on within these companies. Obviously, some of these companies haven't been around for that long. Have been. All I can say is not surprised, just disappointed. I'll end it there.